I remember seeing the back of someone's shirt, and it was the number 4, and above it said "Winnings for losers." And I don't know. I think the kind of the good thing about Newcastle as a club is that it isn't about success. It isn't about winning trophies, because they haven't won a domestic trophy since 1955, and it's ridiculous really for the size of the support that they have. Is it habit? Is it birthright? Is it? I mean, I don't know. I think it's not even something that people consider. I think in the last 2 years when they were relegated, I think maybe for the first time it was something that people thought about. Do they want to do this anymore? Is it fun? We're talking in terms of, there's a international recession. How do you combine that? But they answered the question by having crowds of over 40,000 in that season in the Championship, and they've come back again this time. So people view it as their football club.
It's been a long time since Newcastle United celebrated a major trophy, but the city will never stop breathing football. After all, it's not all about success. For Geordies, it's loyalty. So how does a journalist understand and report on this unique bond between the club and the supporters? To find out, we asked 2 Newcastle-based journalists. So, over to them.
The supporters play such a huge role in Newcastle United FC, and it can be a benefit, a huge benefit, such as the huge crowds that they get, the fantastic atmosphere that you get here, and it can also be a bit of a negative as well, in the way that some players can't handle the expectation here. There's also a sort of feeling of, I think sometimes Newcastle is seen as, because the fans are so passionate, they're almost, there's this huge expectation on players, or a perception that there's a huge expectation as well. But no, it's a unique place in terms of the fans. I mean, I don't think you'll find many places with where they turn out in such huge numbers, and where they're so loud, and it's such an integral part of the city like it is here.
I think various things come along and strain those bonds, whether it's so much money in the Premier League, the wages being paid to players are so sort of unrealistic in terms of ordinary people's lives, but I think the football club has a special place in the city. Geographically it's there, it's in the middle, it's looming over the city, and I think very much in Newcastle, football is part of the rhythm of the week. Here it represents the city, and also it's a big thing of working class. Of course, back in history, there used to be people would come out of the coal mines and go and support them on a Saturday. A lot of the players would sort of live and breathe in the live and be in the city as well. So I think it's just kind of developed through that, and it's passed down through generations. But most of all, because it's a one club city. It feels better when we see one of our own doing well for the football club. So of course to lose that person, it hurts even more. The fact is that Andy Carroll is a great young player, looks to have a fantastic future. He's an England international, and he's come from the town to wear the number 9 shirt, and of course there's a special sort of iconic status about the number 9 shirt. It's the shirt that Jackie Milburn wore, that Malcolm McDonald wore, that Alan Shearer wore, and Andy Carroll had talked publicly about that being what he wanted to do and what he wanted to do for the rest of his career. So for him to say that and then leave so quickly, I think was very painful. A great deal of kind of bitterness towards Andy for leaving, which I think is a little bit unfair, to be honest, but I think it did hurt more because he'd come through the ranks. There was a feeling that he was a huge amount of hope. He represented something that Newcastle hadn't had for a long time, which was a genuine England international number 9. And the fact that he came from the city made a big difference. His story was the story of a lot of kids who would go and watch them. He'd gone on the terraces, he'd wanted to play for them when he was a kid, and he was the guy who could live the dream. So to then see him after only a season and a half going to Liverpool was incredibly, I think it raised a lot of bitterness in Newcastle fans, and I think it meant a lot more. I mean, Newcastle got used to players leaving for bigger clubs. I suppose off the top of my head you would name people like Sir Bobby Robson, somebody who didn't just represent the city, actually he represented the whole North East, but was able to I think connect people from different regions and with different backgrounds. But I think he went away as a North East man, loved Newcastle, represented Newcastle very well, represented the city very well, and now with his charitable foundation, of course, now that he's dead, that work is carrying on. I would say that he sort of embodies some of the great things about the North East. If you look at the sort of the bond that other people have had, Kevin Keegan definitely in his spell as first spell as manager, particularly spell as a player, he really made the city come to life. There was that uplift, and played a huge part in back into the past and talk about Jackie Milburn, who's come to represents everything good about the football club. In more recent times, you'd say someone like Alan Shearer, who came, we're talking about Andy Carroll, but someone who came back to the city where he grew up, wore the number 9 shirt, came as a world record transfer signing, and for 10 years gave absolutely everything for Newcastle. So those are the people that I would mention.
First of all, I'd say Alan Shearer, a son of a Gosforth sheet metal worker who was born here, supported Newcastle as a lad, went away to Southampton, Blackburn, had an opportunity to go to a bigger club for probably more money, could have won more titles at Manchester United, but opted to come back to Newcastle because because it meant so much to him. So I think he would be my number 1. Number 2, Jackie Milburn, just because he was a working class hero from around here. He used to go to the grounds on the bus, and he represented everything about him, plus a hugely successful player as well. And then finally Kevin Keegan, because he transformed the club just through force of personality. He was responsible for turning them into the sort of the force they are now, and seemed to have a unique bond, even though he wasn't from around here, with the people of the city. He seemed to understand their kind of love for football and what made them sort of tick. So yeah, Keegan would be one of my
strength. Is that I write about those places with feeling. I would struggle to do it elsewhere. It's still football, and it probably would be more successful football. But the reason I enjoy what I'm doing is because I care about it.